So you mentioned a little bit beforehand about how you were desperate to be a filmmaker from a young age. Talk a little bit about just kind of that journey and how that influenced this film and the origin of this film and inspiration.
Well, I mean, like I was saying earlier, it was very unlikely. There was no real framework for it in Ireland at the time. Whereas now, I mean, you could shoot a movie on your iPhone and edit on your laptop. Back then, in the 80s, I knew somebody who knew somebody who had a big VHS camcorder, really chunky, and I thought, this is amazing. Wow. So it was just persisted through childhood, just a dream. There's no filmmaking to be done. Then as I got older, I was able to get a camcorder because I pestered my father for long enough, and he eventually, okay, maybe if I give him a camcorder and he discovers he has no talent, he'll leave me alone. And you know,
finally get that accounting degree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that didn't work. That backfired. So then I found a college course. There aren't many, but I did find one. It was kind of an arts course with film production as a module. And I did that, and then I stuck at it. Got normal jobs, but always had this notion, and I always kept writing through years and years. And eventually, I wrote a script that was halfway.
And what was the aha moment for Earthbound? What was the one that was like, oh, I've got the story in my head now?
I was, you know, I suppose this is good. I can't really separate the idea from the context. I was nearly 30. Time really to grow up. If I was going to do this, now was the time. Otherwise, I had to get a proper job. So I started thinking, God, am I living in a delusion? Am I deluding myself by thinking that this was ever viable? Or is it a meticulously constructed fantasy that I'm just clinging to? So I thought, that's kind of an interesting idea, kind of that somebody has a really mundane life that they don't derive any satisfaction from, it's meaningless, but they fabricate this mythology which gives their everyday boring life this great significance, this cosmic significance, and they don't really have to do anything. They just have to go to work every day, and they're saving the world just by not being discovered by intergalactic Brennan. So that was kind of it. That was kind of the moment. I thought, I think that's quite interesting, and I think I could make a plot out of it. So that was.
And one final question before I turn it out over to the audience. When you finally got the go-ahead to make the film, did you have any problems becoming the director of it because you didn't have that experience behind it, or was it just sort of, you talked a good game?
Well, I suppose in that respect, I have one of the good things about in the Irish film industry is that there are a lot of writer-directors, and it's very common practice for directors to write their own scripts and just to say, I'm the director, and it's kind of accepted, and it's kind of encouraged, because they figure, how else are you going to get started? I don't know, if I was doing the States or in the studio system, forget it, not a chance in hell I would have done the directors. But no, I suppose it's what we're leaning towards in Ireland is the young creative talent.
You wrote it, so yeah, you're kind of assumed that you'll direct it as well.
Yeah, it was like, you know, who else is going to direct? Nobody else going to direct it. So I'll direct it. Fine, great, fine, you're hired.
Do we have any questions out in the audience now? Oh yeah, go ahead, sir.
I would think that the people in Dublin are going to love the fact that tower is gone.
Yes, yeah, that was one of my main motives for writing that scene. It's just pure wish fulfillment at the end there. Yeah.
Tower.
Yeah.
The giant Millennium Spire in downtown Dublin.
Yes. No, we would all like to see that just take off.
Blew up Nelson's column and put that up in its place. Anyone else out there? Yeah, go ahead.
I saw the Flash Gordon and the BSG references. What other like sci-fi influences? Yeah.
Oh God, there's loads. I mean, it's a bit of a geek catalog. This movie, I'm really exposing my lack of cool. But there's so many. There's Superman, which I've ripped off. Yes. Yeah, I mean, he looks kind of like Clark Kent. I thought, okay, I wanted to look like him. Peter Parker as well has the same thing. So Peter Parker, Clark Kent, sort of thing. Yeah, like the hologram is all Superman. The last son of the Laxon. I'm not being subtle there, you know. So that was one thing. But I mean, I don't know if there's much Star Wars in it, even though I'm a big Star Wars guy. Yeah, no, I'm a big John Williams fan. So I mean, that was when I was working with the composer. I said, like, you know, I love that sound. That, you know, big orchestra, big emotion. Don't really play the sci-fi, but just go for straight emotion. and make it big, because we don't really, it's a tiny film and we want it to feel bigger than it is. So that's what we kind of went for. So yeah, Star Wars in that respect, there's a lot of Flash Gordon, and we actually reference Battlestar Galactica. There's probably more that I can't think of right now. There was one thing that I was really worried about, and at the time, because I'd written it a while ago, and I knew they were making a John Carter movie, and I thought, oh, people totally get this idea of like different planets having different gravitational forces, and when he goes to a different planet, he'll be super strong. And then nobody went to see John Carter. So I was like, oh God, are they gonna get that? Is that gonna work? I don't know.
I saw it and 7 other people in the theater, so I know of 8 people who saw it.
Okay, well those eight people would get it at the end. And oh yeah, he's gonna, on Zalaxan, I'd be really strong. Those people go, oh yeah, and everybody else.
Is that the most obscure science fiction reference in there?
Starman, have ripped off Starman as well. Very subtle. The fact that she can't go back to his planet is kind of the Starman thing, is where Jeff Bridges has to leave Karen Allen behind.
Anyone else out there? Yeah, go ahead.
Really simple. Are you selling the DVDs someplace?
Not yet. No, not not yet. Hopefully not for a little while.
It just premiered.
It will be announced, TBA, to be announced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a Facebook page or any social networking?
We do have a Facebook page. I think it's just Earthbound the movie.
Okay, that's always a good thing to
Yeah,
check.
and there's an earthboundmovie.net as well. If you check that out.
You can check on the progress of the film.
Yeah.
Anyone else out there?
When you were thinking about the size, you said you wanted to see grander, so you were thinking about that with the shots as well? Or?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things I discussed with the director of photography when it started off was that, we didn't have much of a budget, so the big fear is that your movie's going to look cheap, and it's going to look like TV. And the first thing we did was said, it would be great to shoot with anamorphic lenses, the widescreen frame, and that informs an awful lot, and that kind of gets you thinking in different visual terms. So I always wanted it to make it feel cinematic, even though we didn't really have much money. And all we could really do was find locations that were fairly spacious, so we could kind of get a bit of distance between things, so it didn't feel like it was a student film cramped in a little flat with one light very close. So that was kind of the mantra we worked from.
Do we have any editing questions?
Please.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's an editing question, but just for everybody, was it a fun film to make, or was it a sort of living?
Jen, how is Alan as director?
Yep.
It was a lot of fun to make, and Alan was a great director. No, it is true. I really admire people that are courageous and have a creative dream and they go for it no matter what. And that's what I really respect. So it was an honor. No, but I mean it.
Is there any moment that sticks out for you most about the filming of the film?
What I really liked when I read the script was such great dialogue, and that's, as an actor, what you want. You want to work with your partner, and I guess the scenes with Rafe and the dating scenes, and they were really easy because the writing was so good, and it was really great as an actor to have that.
Now, are you a sci-fi geek? Did you get all the references too, or was it?
I'm not really a sci-fi geek. I hadn't seen Star Wars or anything, and Alan was like, "You really should watch that."
Did you know there were 2 different versions of Battlestar Galactica before you read the script?
No. But I do not. I'm just a fan of good storytelling and good writing, so yeah.
And how about the editing of the film? What was was there any challenging bits in the editing, or talk a little bit about that
Well,
process?
just trying to cut Al's material together was challenging in itself. That's a joke. Yeah, I mean, well, for me personally, the film was fantastic fun because myself and Alan have been like friends for like over 10 years. We met at college, and so having the 2 of us in the cutting room together was, 2 buddies being back together really in a room together all day. So it was great fun, and also because we went back so long, there was great trust between the 2 of us, and sort of egos were checked at the door, so I could just go to them, oh, I think this is rubbish, and we would bounce our heads off each other, and there was it was a very sort of easy working relationship. In terms of the edit itself, I mean, I guess the most challenging sort of part was the opening act of the film, really, because the film mainly begins when Joe tells Maria that he's an alien, and so all the setup obviously has to come all before that, so that the audience can enjoy and understand what's going on afterwards. So it was quite a challenge, and we spent a lot of time sifting through that, cutting lines out, putting them back in, moving things around and everything to try and make the opening act work. And yes, that was probably the most challenging
Getting
part of it.
the comic timing and rhythm right, I imagine was fairly challenging. Just getting those cut points between dialogue and characters and such.
Yeah, but we were lucky because Ray Spall, who played Joe, is obviously that's his stock in trade, and he's got a great sense of comic timing himself. So in terms of just following the editing, it was trying to just let him do his thing, and also Jenn's reaction to everything is what really makes it laugh. So yeah.
And we had a question. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I was curious, you said without the studio backing, how did you finance a film of this nature?
This is really a producer question.
Ah.
This is what you call being dropped in it.
Hello everybody, great to see you. In Ireland we have a lot of soft funding, which is great. So the Irish Film Board has been a huge support to us, and Simon Perry was the CEO when this script was initiated to shoot. He loved it and he was a great support to us. And then there's a tax break, I won't get into the details, it's pretty boring. And then we got a bit of gap funding from our exec producers, Group World Pictures, so that's kind of how it's funded, and with the post houses as well. So it's a small budget, but
a lot of goodwill and government funding.
yeah, definitely. I mean, and also from cast and crew, everybody worked beyond what we could ask for, especially with the money we had. So I think, yeah,
Well, the film
great
is a
thank you.
little bit disproportionate. I mean, disproportionately ambitious to the actual budget we had. So, there's a lot of favors, a lot of goodwill.
When's the sequel?
It's the second time people got that. It looks like
it will go into production 15 minutes after this. Yeah.
I think we had a question. A sequel?
I'm sure I could be talked into. I'm sure I could come up with something if
you've got the money.
With the proper funding, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
What did you shoot the film on?
We shot it on Red.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, it would have been nice to shoot it was just before, we shot it just before the Alexa. We were starting to hear a lot of stuff about the Alexa, but nobody had shot with it at the time. And then we got anamorphic lenses, and we had to shoot Red because of those lenses. We kind of built it around. So we really want to shoot widescreen and make it look like the old 1980s widescreen movies, not like the where the things that you have the oval shaped flare, and when it's things that really out of focus in the background, but also they're kind of stretched, and then when it pulls focus, everybody kind of squashes. I really love that. So we can.
Do you have time for maybe one or two more questions? So yeah, go ahead.
I have a comment and a question. I just wanted to thank Jenn, because watching Maria's face was pure pleasure. It was just great.
Thank you very much.
And in terms of a sequel, was that a beacon at the end or not?
We'll find out.
Yeah, you know what? I shouldn't say. I should hold back the answer. Maybe.
Always leave them wanting more. Yeah, you'll be the last question of the afternoon.
Going back to the science fiction references, I couldn't help but think of Han and Greedo in the cantina when Joe's being interviewed by the bounty hunters.
Yeah. No. In the original cut, he shot first, but then I decided that he was a role model for children, so he shouldn't do anything naughty.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming out, and I want to thank our filmmaking group here for coming out all the way from Ireland for their world premiere. Thank you for coming to Seattle. On Thursday evening at 6:30. So let's make sure you let your friends, family, and anyone else on the street know.